All right. So, yeah, Dan, do you still have faith, or do you have any faith in this rebuild now? Or maybe this is a two-part question. Do you think the Rangers were right in the firing of Jeff Gorton and John Davidson?
You know what? I have no idea because, like I said, we were in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic season. And in all honesty, I did not want them to have a season this year. But I'll be perfectly honest, I did not want the NHL to have a season this year, and I'm going to tell you why. We are dealing, yes, because it would led to non-geographically compliant divisions. Yes, it led to some kind of way where it led to a balance of power that shifted heavily in one division over the others. And yes, it led to a whole country having to play each other 3,000 miles each way for a divisional matchup, which doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't.
And we had beginning of the season, we've seen, the Dallas Stars and a couple other teams reschedule all their games. How many times have we go online? Oh, the NHL has made X amount, 10 changes to their schedule. Oh, 30 games were postponed because of COVID. And that's why I think messed it up. I really think that this was an environment where anything was possible because of the coronavirus pandemic. And yes, you have to keep into consideration the safety of the fans, that safety of the players and of the fans that they were allowed in the stadium to attend. And everyone's got to be safe, right? And when you keep postponing games and you keep canceling games and players want to opt out for a season or players concerned and players who did have COVID and recovering from it does mess up the game. So I really do think that they should have canceled the season and they should have probably, players could have played overseas because they were leagues. The Continental Hockey League, the number 2 league in Russia, they were playing this year. They had fans in the stands. It was actually crazy. Their championship game where Ilya Kovalchuk's Avangard Omsk defeated the Red Army of Moscow team for the championship, and there was a packed house. Like I saw a ton of fans at the Moscow and Balashika region stadiums. They could have played over there to have the excitement, but because over there it's different over there right now. But here, because we're taking
I don't want Panarin setting foot in Russia.
No, exactly. Okay, well that's different.
Well, I have a question. What was the question again?
The question was, do you still have faith in the rebuild?
Yes.
But having said that, I don't know what to make of this season or any season for this matter because we're like I said, the season this year.
So are they still in rebuild mode? Or?
I say yes, they're still in rebuild mode.
But Dolan wants them to be out of rebuild mode. I think
that's the problem with James Dolan. James Dolan,
he wants to win now.
He wants to
win. It's probably not.
But that's the problem.
But look
with
what he did. He did with the Knicks. He did with the Rangers. He backed off the Rangers. Rangers contended well. They didn't win a cup, but they contended well. He kept on with the Knicks. The Knicks played like garbage. And he created a culture where basically Stephon Marbury went to China and there were sexual assault allegations against Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and he's probably one of those hated people. And that's why you can't afford to go to Madison Square Garden anymore. As a normal thing.
Ever since the renovations, they decreased the seating capacity to artificially increase the ticket prices.
Exactly.
They did that. The Caskies did that with Soldier Field. Urinating Tree talked about that in his little pair of Bears video. So anyway.
So that's my thing with James Dolan. Like, he wants to win now and he wants the money. I get it. Listen, I'm a Rangers fan. As a sports fan, you want to see your team win the championship every year. But
the reality
is, I'm not a fan of James Dolan.
I don't think anyone is.
So what did you think about this whole?
Okay, all things considered, all the crap that went on between the D'Angelo getting exiled after fighting Georgiev post-game, Panarin in his life practically in danger because of what happened, the Tom Wilson fiasco, all that considered, I think the Rangers had a good season. But something, I hate to say it, I might agree with James Dolan and Mark Messier on. Don't get me wrong, I still think firing John Davidson and Jeff Gorton is a complete overreaction. This team needs size. It does need grit. Because I'll tell you something. Let's say Tom Wilson let's say the Capitals that night aren't playing the Rangers. And they're playing the Islanders. And that's not Pavel Buchnevich's head he has on the ice with his stick wrapped around his neck. It's Anthony Beauvillier or Matt Barzal of the Islanders.
Some great names.
Yeah. In all honesty,
Badass hockey names, right?
Yeah.
Hockey names are insane.
if
They're
Wilson,
either very French or they sound badass Russian.
but if that is, but if Tom Wilson is in the same situation, and that's Beauvillier's head, not Bushnevich, I don't think he's doing it. And if he does do it, he's an idiot. For this reason, he wouldn't only get the fine from the league, he'd get the fine of Matt Martin.
Exactly.
Matt Martin is a guy on the Islanders. He can fight and play hockey. I think, James, I do agree. This team does need size. They have a guy in their system in Sweden. His name is Alex Edstrom. He's 6'6", 215 pounds. I don't know if he could fight. If I'm not mistaken, the Swedish league doesn't allow fighting. But
that's lame.
I've seen fights in Swedish hockey.
Okay, then
especially
good.
Especially in the Allsvenskan. Hockey Allsvenskan division.
Okay, well, hopefully this kid's in training camp next year. It's like, listen, I'll protect the. He could be the guy to protect the Panarins, protect the Lafrenières, or protect the Zibanejads. But anyway, I think James Dolan had a revelation the same way Ed Snyder had a revelation about the Flyers in their early days when they were just a little startup expansion franchise of the original 12. They got one of their early games, they got absolutely humiliated by the St. Louis Blues, not just on the scoreboard, but physically. The St. Louis Blues beat the pulp out of them, basically. And at that point, that was a turning point for Ed Snyder. He said, I never want to see this team be intimidated again. And after that, it led to the creation of the Broad Street Bullies. Bobby Clark, Dave the Hammer Schultz, guys that, were tough, could play hockey, and some guys that could just fight. That were just like, listen,
Straight up fight.
if you fuck with Bobby Clark, you're getting fucked up.
Yep.
But here's the thing. Those were the 70s. In that time in hockey, you were rolling out 3 good lines and maybe a fighting line. So it worked for the Flyers then. Now, you're rolling out 4 lines. If you're getting guys that can fight, they can't not play hockey. And that's why guys like Tom Wilson, as much as Ranger fans hate him right now, I hate him too. Would I take him on my team? Absolutely. Because he can play hockey, and God forbid you get him to clean up his act a little bit. Like, you still want him to be physical. You want someone like that to protect Panarin or Lafreniere if necessary. The Islanders have that in Matt Martin to protect him. And, they have a guy, Ross Johnson, but he's kind of an old school guy. Like, he's pretty much there just to fight.
How old is Tom Wilson?
He's,
Do you mind me asking?
I think he's in his late 20s.
I'll look it up.
Late 20s?
But yeah.
What's the age that these guys usually come up in? Now I'm gonna just start asking educational questions because I turn on these games and they're always
27.
fun to watch.
Wow.
Just, I'm not privy to.
Geez, he's 30 days older than me, Tom Wilson.
Wow, so he's is that young technically? Like I mean Carter
I'm
Hart's
20.
still stupid young.
You know what though? Like, I used to work in hockey. I used to work with at the junior level and see young kids develop. And really, the age, age is important but it depends on how well the kid is developing. You do see in the NHL, you see guys like Connor McDavid, 16, 17, 18 years old, age already. And then you see some players that go, age out juniors and they go to college. They become college free agents at 25, 26, 27. They make their NHL debuts. Sometimes you do get the late bloomers, but mostly it's a young man's game.
Sort of like. Well, yeah, I could see it being a young man's game. I know baseball can be an old man's game because some of these guys don't hit the majors until 27.
Yeah.
20. Sometimes you get those beautiful stories of some guys popping up when they're like 31 years old and having their first start. You really want
Disney made a movie about it, The Rookie.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid, great movie.
But yeah, I have no idea what the front office is going to do now. I don't want to do anything drastic. I want them to keep the youth. I want to keep the veterans. From what Chris Drury said in his introductory press conference, we're not going to make any changes that are too drastic, which makes me comfortable. It's not like
what's the definition of too drastic to him?
That's a good question.
When you say something's drastic, everyone's got
And here's the thing. There's 2 things I heard. Or more so one thing I heard. I got to bring up the tweet. This is a tweet from John Vogel. He writes for The Athletic. I think he covers the Sabres. Tweet today. Jack Eichel says there has been a disconnect between him and the Sabres regarding his injury. He said he'd be lying if he said things went smoothly. He says his main goal is to be ready to play next season, wherever that may be.
That's
Jack Eichel could very
that's
well
it.
be a Ranger next year.
That
You know
is
what,
it.
though? I am sick and tired of these Jack Eichel to the Rangers rumors because I see it all the time. And, everyone's like, oh, we want...
Well, that's the rumor I prefer, but the next rumor I'll get into after you go on.
They say, like, Jack Eichel for, all the rumors I see. It's like we want at least Alexis Lafreniere, we want Kaapo Kakko, and we want 3 first-round picks. That's the starting conversation.
Well, that's not going to happen.
But you know what, though? Knowing the new culture and the win-now mode, that could be enough to get the trade going.
I mean, I hope not. Chris Drury's well respected right now, even though he's like just starting as like a head GM. I mean, I'm trying to remain as optimistic as possible. I just want little tweaks. That's it. If anything, add a tough guy or two, but that can still play hockey. That's it. I'm not ready to fire David Quinn, the head coach. We talked about him on a previous episode. Mm-hmm. I mean, Chris Drury, if I'm not mistaken, did have a big part of bringing him in. So, I do think David Quinn will be back next year, and I think that's when you truly put him under the microscope. I think he's done a fair job. The Rangers did well in like goals for, goals against. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. But that being said, if Chris Drury does fire David Quinn, I think that says 2 things. 1, James Dolan's got his hands all over this. That's not good. 2, news last night, John Tortorella is leaving the Blue Jackets. And honest to God, I have no idea what to think about that. I mean, no, actually, I do know what to think about that. I'm fully convinced if the Rangers do fire David Quinn, John Tortorella is coming back as head coach.
2013.
Because if this team is lacking in anything, it's grit. And listen, John Tortorella, I loved the guy. He has his place in Rangers history, but I don't think he's fit to coach this team. Like,
you know what?
It works for guys like Callahan. It works for guys like Dubinsky because those aren't like skill guys. I mean, no, I don't know. I don't think skilled guys. They aren't like playmakers to the likes of like Panarin or Zibanejad. Like they are the gritty guys. They get in the dirty areas. You can't ask Artemi Panarin to block shots because like you're asking him to take a lot of abuse to his legs. It's like I need these to be the freaking beautiful skater that I am.